Hello, squirrel listeners. It's early again on Tuesday morning this time, and it is cloudy, dark, and rainy. Just the kind of day, guess I'll be fighting sleep. Okay, chapter 19, Just a Happy Day. After all, Anne had said to Marilla once, I believe the nicest and sweetest days are not those on which anything very splendid or wonderful or exciting happens, but just those that bring simple little pleasures, following one another softly like pearls slipping off a string. Life at Green Gables was full of just such days, for Anne's adventures and misadventures, like those of other people, did not happen all at once, but were sprinkled over the year with long stretches of harmless, happy days between, filled with work and dreams and laughter and lessons. Such a day came late in August. In the afternoon, Anne and Diana rode the delighted twins down the pond to the sand shore to pick sweet grass and paddle in the surf over which the wind was harping an old lyric learned when the world was young. In the afternoon, Anne walked down to the old Irving place to see Paul. She found him stretched out on the grassy bank beside the thick fir grove that sheltered the house on the north. Absorbed in a book of fairy tales, he sprang up radiantly at the sight of her. Oh, I'm glad you've come, teacher, he said eagerly. Because Grandma's away. You'll stay and have tea with me, won't you? It's so lonesome to have tea all by myself. You know, teacher. Oh, I guess that goes with the other sentence. You know, teacher, about how lonesome it is to have tea by yourself. I've had serious thoughts of asking young Mary Jo, to sit down and eat her tea with me. But I expect Grandma wouldn't approve. She says the French have to be kept in their place. And anyhow, it's difficult to talk with young Mary Jo. She just laughs and says, well, yous do beat all the kids I ever knowed. That isn't my idea of conversation. Of course I'll stay to tea, said Anne gaily. I was dying to be asked. My mouth has been watering for some more of your grandma's delicious shortbread ever since I had tea here before. Paul looked very sober. If it depended on me, teacher, he said, standing before Anne with his hands in his pockets and his beautiful little face shadowed with sudden care, you should have shortbread with a right good will. But it depends on Mary Jo. I heard Grandma tell her before she left that she wasn't to give me any shortcake because it was too rich for little boys' stomachs. But maybe Mary Jo will cut some for you if I promise I won't eat any. Let us hope for the best. Yes, let us, agreed Anne, whom this cheerful philosophy suited exactly. And if Mary Jo proves hard-hearted and won't give me any shortbread, it doesn't matter in the least, so you're not to worry over that. You're sure you won't mind if she doesn't? Said Paul anxiously. Perfectly sure, dear heart. Then I won't worry, said Paul with a long breath of relief, especially as I really think Mary Jo will listen to reason. She's not a naturally unreasonable person, but she has learned by experience that it doesn't do to disobey Grandma's orders. Grandma is an excellent woman, but people must do as she tells them. She was very pleased with me this morning because I managed at last to eat all my plate full of porridge. It was a great effort, but I succeeded. Grandma says she thinks she'll make a man of me yet. But, teacher, I want to ask you a very important question. You will answer it truthfully, won't you? I'll try, promised Anne. Do you think I'm wrong in my upper story? Asked Paul, as if his very existence depended on her reply. Goodness, no, Pa, exclaimed Annie in amazement. Certainly you're not. What put such an idea into your head? Mary Jo, but she didn't know I heard her. Mrs. Peter Sloane's hired girl, Veronica, came to see Mary Jo last evening, and I heard them talking in the kitchen as I was going out through the hall. Or going through the hall. Ah, my eyes on the focus. I heard Mary Jo say, that Pa, he is the queerest little boy. He talks that queer. I think there's something wrong in his upper story. I guess in his brain. I was wondering what upper story was. I couldn't sleep last night for ever so long thinking of it and wondering if Mary Jo was right. I couldn't bear to ask Grandma about it somehow, but I would make up my mind. But I made up my mind I'd ask you. I'm so glad you think I'm all right in my upper story. That's so funny. Of course you are. Mary Jo is a silly, ignorant girl, and you are never to worry about anything she says, said Anne indignantly, secretly resolving to give Mrs. Irving a discreet hint as to the advisability of restraining Mary Jo's tongue. Well, that's a weight off my mind, said Pa. I'm perfectly happy now, teacher, thanks to you. It wouldn't be nice to have something wrong in your upper story, would it, teacher? I suppose the reason Mary Jo imagines I have is because I tell her what I think about things sometimes. It is a rather dangerous practice, admitted Anne, out of the depths of her own experience. Well, by and by, I'll tell you the thoughts I told Mary Jo, and you can see for yourself if there's anything queer in them, said Pa. But I'll wait till it begins to get dark. That's the time I hate to tell people things. And when nobody else is handy, I just have to tell Mary Jo. But after this, I won't. If it makes her... Come on. Imagine I'm wrong in my upper story, I'll just ache and bear it. If the aches get too bad, you can come up to Green Gables and tell me your thoughts, suggested Anne, with the gravity that endeared her to children who so dearly love to be taken seriously. Yes, I will, but I hope Daisy won't be there when I go through. Wait a minute. Won't be there when I go because he makes faces at me. Davy. I don't mind very much because he's such a little boy and I'm quite a big one, but still it's not pleasant to have faces made at you. Some, hang on, but still it's not pleasant. And Davy makes that terrible one. Sometimes I'm frightened he will never get his face straightened out again. He makes them at me in church when I ought to be thinking of sacred things. Dora likes me, though, and I like her, but not so well as I did before she told Minnie May Berry that she meant to marry me when I grow up. I may marry somebody when I grow up, but I'm far too young to be thinking of it yet. Don't you think, teacher? Rather young, agreed teacher. Speaking of marrying reminds me of another thing that has been troubling me. Of late, continued Paul, Mrs. Lynn was down here one day last week having tea with Grandma, and Grandma made me show her my little mother's pictures, the one Father sent me for my birthday present. Sorry, I'm going to have to turn the heat on it. It's cold in here. No, now I'm in the dark. Let's see if I can get that. And this is going to make a terrible noise at first. Let's see if this will go up. So I can still have some light. Yeah. calm down in a minute, or it should. Oh, sorry about this, y'all. My hand's freezing. Here we go. I think it's getting a little bit better. Now, where was I? Makes faces. Dora likes me. I like her not so much marry me. I'm too young to be thinking, rather young. Speaking of Mary reminds me of another thing that has been troubling me of late, continued Pa. Mrs. Lynde was down here one day last week having tea with Grandma, and Grandma made me show her my little mother's picture, the one Father sent me for my birthday present. I didn't exactly want to show it to Mrs. Lynde. Mrs. Lynde is a good, kind woman, but she isn't the sort of person you want to show your mother's picture to. You know, teacher? But of course, I obeyed Grandma. Mrs. Lynde said she was very pretty, but kind of actressy looking, and must have been an awful lot younger than Father. But she said, some of these days your Pa will be marrying again. Likely. How will you like to have a new Ma? Master Pa? Well, the idea almost took my breath away, teacher, but I wasn't going to let Mrs. Lynde see that. I just looked her straight in the face like this, and I said, Mrs. Lynde, Father made a pretty good job of picking out my first mother, and I could trust him to pick out just as good a one the second time. And I can trust him, teacher. But still, I hope if he ever does give me a new mother, he'll ask my opinion about her before it's too late. There's Mary Jo coming to call us to tea. I'll go and consult with her about the shortbread. As a result of the consultation, Mary Jo cut the shortbread and added a dish of preserves to the bill of fare, and poured the tea, and she and Pa had a very merry meal in the dim old sitting room, whose windows were open to the Gulf breezes. When they talked, and they talked so much nonsense that Mary Jo was quite scandalized, and told Veronica the next evening that the schoolmistress was as queer as Pa. After tea, Pa took Anne up to his room to show her his mother's picture, which has been the mysterious birthday present kept by Mrs. Irving in the bookcase. Pa's little low-ceilinged room was a soft whirl of ruddy light from the sun that was setting over the sea, and swinging doors from the fir trees that grew close to the square, deep-set window. I'm just making sure that made sense. From out the soft glow and glamour shone a sweet girlish face with tender mother eyes, but that was hanging on the wall at the foot of his bed. That's my little mother, said Pa with loving pride. I got Grandma to hang it there so that I'd see it as soon as I opened my eyes in the morning. I never mind not having the light when I go to bed now, because it just seems as if my little mother was right there with me. Father knew just what I would like for a birthday present, although he never asked me. Isn't it wonderful how fathers do know? Your mother was very lonely, Paul, and you look a little like her, but her eyes and hair are darker than yours. My eyes are the same color as father's, said Paul, flying about the room to leap out available cushions on the windowsill. But their father but father's hair is gray. He has lots of it. But it let's see. But it is gray, you see. Father's nearly 50. That's ripe old age, isn't it? But he's only out but it's only outside he's old. Inside he's just as young as anybody. Now, teacher, please sit here and I'll sit at your feet. May I lay my head against your knee? That's the way my little mother and I used to sit. Oh, this is very splendid, I think. Now I want to hear those thoughts which made Mary Jo pronounces so queer, said Anne, patting the mop of curls at her side. Anne, hang on. Mary Jo pronounces. Cutting the mop of curls at her side. Patting the mop. I'm going to have to stop. I'm getting so sleepy again. Paul never needed any coaxing to tell his thoughts, at least to congenial souls. I thought them out in the fir grove one night, he said dreamily. Of course I didn't believe them, but I thought of them. You know, teacher, and I'll stop right there. Maybe I don't have too much to go. Okay, have a happy Tuesday. I won't be on today, but maybe I'll see you in somebody's live chat somewhere. I hope to get things ready to do some more dyeing for tomorrow's Watch Granny Knit, but we'll see, because it's definitely not a day that I can dry the yarn out on the deck outside like I like to do. Wish I had a hanger thing to hang the yarn off of. Excuse me. I'll let it dry, but I would still like to have it outside where it could dry. Anyway, I can still get my wool ready. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow live at 5 for tea with me. And I'll see you later, Gators. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Bye-bye.